My name is Alex. By trade, I am an electrical engineer specializing in industrial battery restoration and heavy-duty power supplies. I operate out of a double garage unit in a local suburban cooperative. It's a quiet, working-class area where people mostly use their garages to store cars, tools, or run small hobby shops. My workshop is packed with specialized equipment, high-precision digital oscilloscopes, custom-built battery balancers, and heavy-duty step-down transformers. My work requires a perfectly stable electrical environment and clear, unhindered access to my roll-up doors, as clients frequently drop off heavy industrial batteries for diagnostics. For 3 years, everything was peaceful. Then, the neighboring garage was bought by a guy named Victor. Victor was a textbook curbside flipper, a loud, aggressive car reseller who specialized in buying cheap, salvage vehicles, doing cosmetic cover-up repairs, and flipping them for a quick profit. Within 2 weeks of moving in, Victor turned his small plot into an absolute junkyard. He began buying broken, non-running European imports and parking them everywhere. The real issue started when Victor began using the shared asphalt driveway directly in front of my garage doors as his personal overflow lot. Almost every single morning, I would arrive at my workshop only to find a rusted BMW or a broken SUV parked exactly 2 inches away from my roll-up door, completely blocking my access. The first time it happened, I walked into his garage politely. "Hey, Victor, could you move that silver sedan? I have a client coming with a delivery in 20 minutes. Victor didn't even look up from his phone. He just spat on the floor and laughed. "Relax, engineer. The driveway is public space. If you need to get in, just drive around it or wait until I'm done with my morning coffee. You don't own the asphalt." It became a daily nightmare. Every single time I asked him to clear the driveway, he would stall for 45 minutes, curse under his breath, or completely ignore me. When I complained to the cooperative's chairman, I discovered that Victor was the chairman's brother-in-law. The chairman simply shrugged and told me, "It's a shared space, Alex. Try to be a good neighbor and cooperate." 2 months ago, Victor decided to aggressively expand his operation. He rented a second adjacent unit, brought in a massive, used hydraulic car lift, and installed a heavy-duty, industrial paint spraying compressor. He wanted to turn his units into a full-scale commercial auto body and paint shop. To power his new heavy machinery, Victor needed a massive amount of electrical current. Instead of paying the city thousands of dollars to run a dedicated high-voltage commercial line, he did what any cheap bully would do. He hired a shady technician to tap directly into the cooperative's main substation line, specifically utilizing the very same local power distribution block that I had personally modernized and legally reinforced a year prior to protect my sensitive diagnostic gear. Victor thought he had found the perfect loophole. He had free reign over the driveway, a corrupt chairman protecting his back, and free, unregulated access to a high-capacity electrical line to run his illegal commercial shop. He had no idea that when I modernized that specific distribution block, I didn't just lay down thick copper cables. I had installed heavy-duty, industrial-grade programmable harmonic filters and active digital smart limiters inside the main distribution casing to protect my $20,000 oscilloscopes from grid surges. Victor assumed electricity was just raw, dumb power flowing through a wire. He didn't understand that a high-voltage line is a two-way street, governed by strict physics and frequency waves. And he had just plugged his entire livelihood directly into a digital gate that I fully controlled. Victor's commercial garage transformation was officially complete by the start of the following week. He began taking on high-end client vehicles for full cosmetic overhauls and deep paint jobs. Naturally, his arrogance grew with his business. The driveway was now permanently choked with luxury sedans and sports cars waiting for bodywork, completely trapping my garage. He even started mocking me openly, pointing at a client's Mercedes parked dead center across my entrance. "Look at that, engineer," Victor sneered, lighting a cigarette. "That's real business right there. My compressor needs to run nonstop for the next 3 days to finish this paint job. Don't touch my power and don't touch my cars." I didn't argue. I walked back into my workshop, locked the door, and opened the monitoring software hooked up to the distribution casing. Victor's massive industrial 15-kilowatt air compressor and his heavy hydraulic lift were drawing an immense amount of current. When an electric motor of that size kicks on, it creates what engineers call harmonic distortion and massive voltage spikes. Basically, it introduces chaotic noise back into the electrical line. Normally, this noise travels back to the main power grid and dissipates. However, Victor didn't know that my programmable harmonic filters were sitting right between his shop and the main line. I sat down at my terminal and altered the script on the active smart limiters. Instead of filtering out the electrical noise to protect the grid, I programmed the digital gates to isolate Victor's line entirely and reflect 100% of the harmonic distortion back into his own shop. Even worse, I tuned the filters to resonate at a specific destructive frequency whenever his current draw exceeded a certain threshold. The trap was set. At exactly 2 p.m., Victor rolled a pristine, modern BMW M4 into his bay. He hooked up his heavy-duty orbital sanders and flipped the switch on his massive hydraulic car lift to raise the vehicle. The moment the lift motor strained under the weight of the car, drawing maximum current, my digital smart limiters slammed shut. The reflected harmonic feedback rushed back into Victor's shop like an invisible tidal wave. Suddenly, the modern digital control board on his hydraulic lift threw an error code and froze, trapping the BMW 6 feet in the air. At the exact same time, the massive voltage ripple surged directly into the BMW's plugged-in onboard diagnostics computer. Modern luxury cars are basically computers on wheels. They are incredibly sensitive to electrical frequency fluctuations. Through my open window, I heard a chorus of high-pitched electronic clicks, followed by the BMW's factory alarm blaring at full volume. The car's central locking system engaged, the digital dashboard flashed erratically, and the electronic steering column locked itself into safety theft mode. What the hell? I heard Victor yell, slamming his hand against the frozen control panel of the lift. Stan, flip the breakers. Why is the lift stuck? His assistant ran to their breaker box, flipping switches back and forth. But the breakers weren't tripped. The physical switches were fine. The electricity flowing into his shop was just so incredibly distorted and filled with chaotic frequencies that none of his modern digital tools could process the power. 2 hours later, Victor tried to start his massive paint-spraying compressor to work on another client's vehicle. The compressor's heavy electric motor tried to turn over, but the reflected inductive frequency waves from my filters created a massive counter-torque inside the motor. Instead of spinning smoothly, the compressor's motor began to shake violently, humming at a deafening, low pitch before emitting a thick, acrid cloud of white electrical smoke. The compressor's internal stator windings had completely melted. By 5 p.m., Victor was standing in the middle of the driveway, surrounded by angry clients. The owner of the BMW M4 was furious, staring up at his luxury car trapped 6 feet in the air on a dead lift, its alarm still periodically chirping because the vehicle's central ECU module had suffered a catastrophic software glitch due to the power surge. "You told me this was a professional shop, Victor," the client shouted, waving his phone. "My car's electronic steering is fried, and it's stuck on your ceiling. I'm calling a flatbed tow truck, and you are paying for the dealership to completely reflash my entire electrical system." Victor was pale, sweat soaking through his grease-stained shirt as he stared at his dead machinery and his smoking compressor. He had no idea what was happening. He thought he had a simple mechanical issue, but he was completely blind to the invisible digital cage suffocating his business. Part 3. The Broken Business and the Broken Bully. By Wednesday morning, Victor's illegal auto shop was in total ruin. The driveway, which used to be packed with his inventory, was now lined with furious clients demanding their vehicles back. The owner of the BMW M4 had to hire a specialized crane-equipped flatbed just to extract his vehicle from Victor's dead hydraulic lift, leaving a massive bill that Victor had to cover out of pocket. To make matters worse, the car's primary computer module was completely fried from the frequency surge, costing thousands in dealership repairs. Desperate to save his business, Victor called in a high-priced commercial electrician named Gary. Gary arrived with a massive truck full of diagnostic tools, determined to find the source of the electrical failure. From the window of my workshop, I watched Gary hook up a sophisticated power quality analyzer to Victor's main breaker panel. I quietly pulled up my laptop interface and monitored the live feed from the hidden distribution box. "All right, flip the switch on the backup compressor," Gary shouted to Victor's assistant. The moment the backup motor kicked on, I adjusted the smart limiter script. The digital gates immediately bottlenecked the current, sending a massive, localized wave of electromagnetic interference directly back into Gary's testing equipment. Gary's expensive digital analyzer suddenly flashed an error code, its screen flickering violently before going completely blank. Gary jumped back, nearly dropping his probes. "What in the world?" Gary muttered, staring at his dead equipment in disbelief. "Victor, there is something seriously wrong here. The voltage coming into your panel looks completely normal on a basic meter, but the moment your equipment draws a load, the entire electrical wave collapses into pure harmonic chaos. It's frying my own diagnostic gear. Can you fix it?" Victor pleaded, his aggressive, loudmouth persona completely gone. "I'm losing $800 a day in canceled jobs. My main compressor is ruined. Fix it?" "I don't even know what it is," Gary snapped, packing up his cables in frustration. "The copper wires are fine. The breakers are fine. But the power behaves like it's being intentionally choked and distorted by a computer algorithm before it hits your shop. This isn't a standard electrical issue, Victor. Someone has this entire line digitally locked down. I can't help you." When Gary drove away, Victor stood in the middle of the empty asphalt driveway, completely defeated. His brother-in-law, the cooperative chairman, couldn't help him either. The city grid inspectors had already warned the chairman that if any more unusual frequency feedback bled into the neighborhood's main grid, they would shut down the entire cooperative's power supply permanently. Victor turned around slowly and looked toward my double garage. The roll-up doors were wide open. I was calmly sitting at my workbench, soldering a battery terminal, the quiet, steady hum of my perfectly functioning diagnostic gear filling the air. He realized right then that my workshop was the only place in the entire block that hadn't suffered a single power flicker. The realization hit him like a physical blow. The quiet engineer he had bullied, mocked, and blocked for months wasn't just a neighbor. He was the absolute master of the grid. With hesitant, heavy steps, Victor walked across the driveway. He stopped at the threshold of my garage, his head hung low, nervously shifting his weight from foot to foot. "Alex! Hey, Alex!" Victor stammered, his voice reduced to a quiet, humiliated whisper. "Listen, I think we got off on the wrong foot. The driveway. I know I was a jerk about parking my cars there. I was just stressed trying to get the business running. I didn't stop soldering. I didn't even look up at him. The driveway is public space, Victor. Isn't that what you told me? Drive around it. Please, Alex, don't do this," Victor begged, his hands trembling. "The electrician said the power line is completely choked. He said someone is controlling it with software. It's you, isn't it? You're doing something to the wires. I'm ruined, man. I owe thousands to my clients. My main compressor is melted, and I can't even lift a car. Just tell me when you want to turn the power back to normal." I finally set my soldering iron down, turned around in my chair, and looked him dead in the eye. "I don't control the city's wires, Victor," I said, my voice completely cold and level. "But I do control the digital security filters that protect my equipment from cheap, illegal commercial setups. If you want your power clean, you're going to agree to my parameters. And the terms are entirely non-negotiable." Victor stood frozen in the doorway, nodding frantically. He was ready to sign anything. The threat of total bankruptcy and a dozen lawsuits from furious BMW and Mercedes owners had completely broken his pride. "Whatever you want, Alex. Just give me the clean power," he muttered, wiping the sweat from his forehead. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out a document I had drafted the night before. I didn't use a handshake agreement or verbal promises. I deal in hard data and legal parameters. It was a formal, ironclad driveway easement and operational restrictions contract, prepared by a real estate attorney. "Here are the rules of the grid, Victor," I stated, tapping the paper. "First, you're going to sign this permanent easement. It grants my workshop an absolute, exclusive right-of-way for the 3 meters of asphalt directly in front of my roll-up doors. If even a single bumper of your cars crosses that line for more than 5 minutes, you agree to an automatic, legally binding $500 daily penalty, enforceable directly through the cooperative board. Victor winced but nodded. Okay, fine. No cars in front of your doors. Ever. What else? Second, your shop's total power consumption is being strictly limited, I continued. My digital smart limiters will remain active inside the main casing. I am capping your maximum draw at exactly 6 kilowatts. That is enough to run basic tools and a standard light grid. But the moment you try to run that massive industrial hydraulic lift and a heavy commercial paint compressor at the same time, the frequency filters will automatically choke the line again. 6 kilowatts. Victor gasped, his eyes widening. Alex, that means I can't run a full-scale commercial auto body shop. I can only do minor cosmetic fixes and detailing. Exactly, I replied, looking him dead in the eye. This is a residential-adjacent garage cooperative, not an industrial zone. You wanted to run an illegal, high-voltage operation on a cheap budget while bullying your neighbors. That option is permanently offline. You can either run a small, quiet detailing business within my parameters, or you can pack up your junk and leave the cooperative today. Victor looked at the contract, then looked out at his empty, ruined driveway. He realized his dream of a cheap, unregulated commercial empire was dead. But it was either this or complete financial ruin. With a trembling hand, he took my pen and signed his name at the bottom of the page. It's signed, he whispered, handing the paper back. Now, please, turn the lift back on so I can get the next client's car down. Go back to your shop, Victor, I said, turning back to my workbench. The moment he walked out, I opened my laptop interface. With a few swift keystrokes, I adjusted the software profile for Victor's specific MAC address on the smart limiters. I opened the digital gates just enough to let a clean, stable 230-volt current pass through, but strictly capped at the new 6-kilowatt ceiling. Through the window, I heard the faint standard click of his backup machinery snapping back to life. The chaotic electromagnetic noise vanished, and a peaceful silence settled over the driveway. Within the next 2 weeks, Victor's operation completely changed. The junk cars disappeared. The loud, screaming industrial compressors were gone. He downsized to a quiet, low-power car detailing and polishing studio. Every single morning when I arrived at my workshop, the 3 meters of asphalt in front of my garage were completely clear, pristine, and open. Victor would occasionally be standing outside, polishing a fender, and the moment he saw my car pull up, he would immediately look down at the floor, making sure he stayed far away from my perimeter. The grid was perfectly balanced, physics had won, and the bully had been permanently reprogrammed. Thank you so much to our incredible storytelling community for watching this tactical grid reclamation. If this garage battle reminded you that tech literacy, precision engineering, and the laws of physics will always defeat raw, loud-mouthed arrogance, make sure to hit that like button right now. Drop your own neighbor horror stories or tech victories in the comments below. Smash that notification bell and subscribe to the channel for more real-world strategic executions. Stay precise, protect your grid, and I will see you in the next code update. Take care.